Hi again, everybody, and welcome to NSIC Weekly from D2Football.com. We're a day early, which is better than a day late. I'm Tom Frederick. He's Matt Witwicky, the eminent blogger covering the NSIC for D2Football.com. Whit, sorry about the inconvenience to making you do two in one day, but it is what it is.
Well, I plan on catching the Bears and Vikings on Monday night right after this and, maybe grabbing a pizza. So that's all good by me, my friend.
All righty. Me too. That's the plan here as well.
Well, you and I this last weekend ended up running into each other over at USF. Aberdeen, Northern State came on down, and we're going to go ahead and kind of just start right on in. There I am representing the show and with our guy Tukes and Berger right there. And you know what, Tom, I feel like compelled to say this. I don't know if it's a shirt or what, but I look pretty athletic right there in that shirt and everything else. I might have to wear that more frequently. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd say so. I've never seen you sport it before. I heard you only broke it out on special occasions, so Saturday must have been one of those.
You'd be surprised how many people there in the media room were inquiring about purchasing that shirt. I mean, not mine literally off my back, but I mean, that would have been uncomfortable. But yeah, it was wild. And unfortunately, we're not going to try and open up a shop for that or anything like that. And they have no idea the challenge and money that went into getting those. That was completely unnecessary. But hey, maybe someday in the distant future, if this show gets immensely popular, we'll think about something like that.
I'm going to hazard a guess and say that I've worn my shirt much more frequently than you've worn yours.
You know what? Your shirt's even in the closing, the outro we have. Mm-hmm. So you wore it at South Dakota State. I recall that. So as we kind of move ahead, this is my not so great attempt to capture some of the crowd that was at the stadium for Northern State at Sioux Falls. I tell you, other than when USF locks up with Augustana, I thought that this was one of the loudest crowds I've heard in a while there. What was your take on it?
Late in the game, you could feel the crowd getting into it by stomping their feet. Up in the press box, you could feel it rattle and shake, believe it or not. I mean, I don't want to call the building inspector or anything like that, but that's the first time I've ever felt that since the new press box was constructed there at Bob Young Field. You're down at field level there. I hear you took my wife for a spin down on the field Saturday night, unbeknownst to me.
Yeah, I saw her at halftime when I came up and did my bit with you guys, and we had to get the ratings up. So I chatted with Sharon, and I said, you want to head on down field level because we did that once last year, and she said, yeah, let's go on down there, and it was a little chillier than I think she was expecting, and so she lasted the entire third quarter and politely said, kind of, do you mind if I head on back up? And I said, that's just fine. But I think it's kind of neat for her. She gets a chance to kind of see some of that firsthand. And it's a little louder football game when you're right there, up next to the action.
Yeah, I'll attest to that. I don't get to see football up close and personal like you do very often. And I was just amazed a year ago at South Dakota State when Augie played there, just how bone cracking and loud, and it's a different perspective. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Well, here you are in a little bit of post game here with Bubba Tan. Talk to us a little bit about, a little bit what you guys do post game for those who may not have a chance to have seen it.
Well, generally, if there's a win, we get a player or two, one representing the offense, one representing the defense, and the coach. The other night, it was such a great performance by the offense. We had two, Bubba representing the backfield. He had a 100-yard rushing day. And then one of the big guys up front blocking for him, Tyler Euchen, joined us as well. And then on behalf of the defense, we had Mo Dewara, a defensive end. That's Tim Hyatt on the left, Bubba Tan, sophomore running back from Colorado in the middle, and yours truly there on the right.
Absolutely. You guys have a really good vantage point there. Tom, let me ask you, kind of off the cuff, outside of Sioux Falls, what is your favorite place in terms of vantage point? I know you mentioned Winona at one time. Is it still Winona, or because of the kind of where you're sitting, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Winona's very close to the action. You're right behind the home bench. The the booth isn't very nice. It's antiquated, circa the 50s or early 60s, but the perch is good. Now you're talking about a vantage point in a modern setting. You can't beat Augustana. You can't beat Dakota Bank Stadium in Aberdeen at Northern State. Those are both great venues.
Absolutely. Well, here you were. Was this a shot from earlier today where you were walking around the neighborhood doing your two deep?
You got that right. No rest for the wicked, man. I had to purge Northern State and onboard the Bemidji State information for the week ahead.
I would imagine that for any of you guys who are doing play-by-play in the conference, when a team has a fair amount of roster turnover, like Bemidji State has had, probably makes that all the more challenging because there's probably a whole lot of new names, wasn't there?
There were a ton of new names, both offensively and defensively. But after about 45 minutes, there's Prairie Green Golf Course in the background. I'm surprised I don't see the groundskeepers back there making the green look pretty. But I got it all onboarded.
That's all it took you is 45 minutes to memorize?
Pretty much.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go ahead and move into to this week's action. Tom, break down a little of this for us, if you would.
Yeah, per the usual, from the home office in beautiful Burnsville, Minnesota, here are the Northern Sun players of the week. The man only played a half. He still racked up 313 yards passing and 5 touchdowns. MSU Moorhead senior signal caller Jack Strand, the pride of Bloomer, Wisconsin. He represents the offense. Strand hit on 22 of 34 attempts as the Dragons had their way with Southwest Minnesota State, winning 51-3 in Marshall. In the game, Jack eclipsed 10,000 yards passing for his career. Defensively, the guy cited this week is Winona senior lineman Connor Haggerty. He's from Onalaska, Wisconsin. Haggerty forced 2 fumbles, one on the game-sealing strip sack with under 20 seconds to go as the Warriors rallied from a 17-0 deficit to beat Bemidji State 21-17. And the special teams ace of the week. Special teams is, of course, Witt's favorite aspect of offense, defense,
Darn right.
teams. Minnesota Duluth's Jonathan Schrum. The Farmington, Minnesota sophomore returned the opening kickoff 90 yards to the house as the Bulldogs rolled at Concordia St. Paul 61-7.
Quick note on Jack Strand. If I saw the stats correct, he's got 11 touchdowns after 2 contests, which is number 1 in all of D2.
And he is a member of the D2Football.com's Elite 100 heading into this season.
First team as well.
All right, the top 25, Witt. I see the NSIC is repping quite well. 2, well, not quite in the top 10. Augie's just outside that elite grouping.
Yeah, we've got Mankato. We've moved up to the 3 spot. Augustana, some people would say, well, how did Augustana move up 4 spots in your poll, despite the fact that they beat a Bemidji team who just moved up from the NAI?
Jamestown.
Or, I'm sorry. Yes. What am I saying? Yeah. Boy, that didn't take long. And so here's what it comes down to is we had losses by Pitt State, Wichita Baptist, Indy, UMD, Valdosta State, a bunch of the teams that were kind of surrounding them. So you end up kind of moving up a little bit because of who's dropped out at the same time or moved along a little bit. So Augustana, we're going to get a chance. They're not going to get, I don't think, if we really look at the schedule, I don't know if they're going to get tested in the Northern Sun maybe till the end of the month. But right now they're in a rock solid spot. Just missing our top 25 actually was Minnesota Duluth. And they ended up, I saw later in the coaches AFCA poll at 24. So as they come on into a big contest this weekend, they are right on the cusp for us and just did make the coaches poll as well.
Minnesota Duluth. Do we have somebody repping Minnesota Duluth here today?
Maybe.
Welcome to the show, my friend Jeff. How are you, buddy?
Oh, I'm well. Thanks for asking. It's been a great start to the season, and it's nice to be with you guys again.
Jeff Papis is the longtime voice of the University of Minnesota Duluth Bulldog football program. All right, UMD's outscored the opposition 96-14. Are the Bulldogs that good, Jeff, or is it just meh competition, Winona and CSP thus far?
I would never call Winona, subpar competition. I mean, they're going to give teams a game. I think they surprised me, frankly, against Concordia. To be really honest, this is a team that's played its first two games without its two top wide receivers and played against Concordia without its defensive captain, Mojo Wirtz. And they've just looked really good. And, 61 points in a college football game, you have to be doing something right, regardless of the caliber of your opposition. So I think this is, to this point anyway, a Bulldog team that is better than I think people thought it might be. But obviously we'll find out on Saturday when the Mavericks come that it's going to be a big day.
Saturday was essentially a home game for you, wasn't it? I mean, you work in the Twin Cities and Hamlin. You were right there in St. Paul to play. That had to feel pretty good.
Well, we've had two real short road trips, at least from my point of view. And I live in White Bear, and of course we were at TCO for the first game against Winona, and then just 2 miles down the road at Concordia St. Paul. Now you look at our home away from home for the first season. If you haven't seen it, it's not at home. TCO, and quite a place.
What was kind of your take getting a chance to call a game there? What were some of the things what were some of the things you weren't expecting about it? And how was it different than a typical venue in the Northern Sun?
Well, you see that beam in the picture?
Yes. Yeah. It's kind of hard to miss it.
That's there for a reason. It's obviously an NFL training facility. It's a big deal, but you can't open the press box windows there, Tom. You'll understand what that means. So I ran probably 100-foot XLR cord down the way to get to an open bay where they were doing the TV so I could have a crowd microphone. Other than that, the place is amazing, right? It's a full press box. It's something that you really have to see to appreciate. It's got seating for about 5,000. Both teams traveled pretty well. I think the novelty of it was part of it. So there was a good atmosphere. There was a good crowd. And the Vikings themselves, of course, are first rate when it comes to hosting. So I can't think of a whole lot bad to say about it, except for the fact that beam is there. But, but I guess if that's the only thing you got to complain about, really you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, Jeff, in that window, I see the press box. Sure, it's got the little bit of an obstructed view, but the scoreboard is in plain visibility as opposed to some places where you have to stand up, stick your head out the window, and constantly update the time down a distance by doing this and taking your eye off the field.
I'll tell you my favorite Mulaski Stadium story. It took me 15 years to figure out a way around the fact that there is a light pole between me and the minute number on the scoreboard. So I can't, for years I had to, to do that. And they put a monitor in my booth last year so I could see the scoreboard fully. So that's, it's just part of it, I guess. But, the big scoreboards that they have at US Bank, that's one of them. And of course they have them at both ends at US Bank. They only have it on the one end there at TCO. So, I guess you got to put up with that, right? But on the whole, just a first class place.
I'm going to ask you what Witt asked me. Favorite places for you to do a ball game from?
You know what? I think there's a couple of ways that I grade that. One of them was with visibility, and at visibility, you can't beat Kirkby over. I think you're absolutely right. And your field, I like quite a bit because you have the easiest setup in the league. I get there 10 minutes. By the time I get there, I'm set up and I'm ready to go. I mean, you guys do right at USF. And of course, Northern is now a real destination point. I too like Winona. I like Winona for the atmosphere more than for the view, but I like it. And Moorhead is a place, even though the press box is a little bit old, we haven't been there in a while. We didn't play them last year, but at the same time, another real good vantage point, and a loud crowd, and now a fine team up there too. So I think there's a lot. And I like Bemidji if you get there early enough in the year, because if you get there later on in the year when all the bugs are dead and they're plastered against the glass, then that's a little different thing, right? When you get there early, everything is fine. We did a snowstorm game up there a couple of years ago. It was probably the most fun I've had on a football field in years in Bemidji. So lots of fun places to go in this league.
Jeff, before we start kind of breaking down the games from last week and taking a look and predicting, Jeff's going to be here with us to predict all the games for this week as well. But before we get into all that, Jeff, for people who haven't had a chance yet to see the Bulldogs play, how do you feel that this team is different from maybe the squad a year ago?
Well, they're young in places that you're not used to seeing the Bulldogs be young. And it's particularly in the back half of the secondary, right? The defense, they've got immense growth potential back there with a kid like Jonathan Schrum, right? That plays at Preston McQueen. They've got some good young defensive backs, but the word is young, right? And so that's something that people, I guess, if you followed them for any length of time, would seem odd, because they've always seemed to got a fourth or a fifth year corner back there that's trying to shut somebody down. They've always been old and deep in the front seven. That's also not so much the case this year, with the exception of a Mojo Wirtz, is a kid that transferred in from North Dakota State 2 years ago and is now a captain, which is rare enough in this age of the transfer portal, where you can go 2 years and you can go from, hi, how are you, to being a captain. But they all get to the football. John Steger's philosophy for years has always been make the play flow to the unblocked player. They play fast, they play hard. That hasn't changed, but it's just the youth of the kids that are doing it that I think is a little bit surprising, and a very pleasant one for me, because Kurt Weezy had said to me before the season he was concerned about depth. Well, maybe he was kind of, please don't throw me into the briar patch kind of an attitude, because the kids that he's got have come out and played well in 2 road settings, and they've got the ability to back up those players. So offensively, again, one of the players that I would watch on offense is Jay Sean Thomas, who's a redshirt freshman left tackle. You go from an Aiden Williams, who is now on the Steelers practice squad, right, to a redshirt freshman protecting a senior quarterback's blind side, and he hasn't put a foot wrong. He has tremendous feet, very, very good skills, but they only have one senior in the offensive line, and that's something else that you're not used to seeing out of UMD, right? So they've got a number of good young running backs that they are slotting into and out of play. And I think, you go back to days like where Isaac Odom, obviously, but that's a long, long time ago. But like Logan Louders and kids like that would rush for 1,000 yards and be an every down feature back. UMD hasn't had one of those in a long time. But kids like Alex Riley, looks like he's got a real future. Derek Johnson takes most of the snaps at the beginning of the game. They got a good 1-2 punch at running back. And Luke Deneke, a redshirt freshman tight end, whose goal is to make people forget about Sam Pitts, which in UMD's land is very difficult to do, but he has been explosive in the first 2 games. So it's kind of a changing of the guard. I can't wait to see what they're like when they get Deshaun Ames and Ryder Patterson back. They haven't played it down in either of the first 2 games. And what Kyle has done through the air has been very, very good, but he's done it without, on paper, his 2 top receivers. So,
and that was something that stood out to me watching the Winona game. I thought he's missing some of his guys, and you guys weren't missing a beat. No,
and I guess any team that now that Chase Vogler's been promoted and he's now an associate head coach. You can say any team that the coach Vogler is coaching is going to be creative, right? We know that they're going to go to the end of the playbook when they need to, but he's found ways to keep players within themselves, within their game, and just be able to do the small things that lead to big things really well in the first couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Hard to fathom. You're missing the 2 big contributors on offense, yet, as I mentioned, 96 points.
Well, to be fair, they scored on offense, defense, and special teams against Concordia. So,
Right.
you can take some of that off, but still, in a game that's 40-0 at halftime, when really you're in lead maintenance in the second half. Now, I give all the credit in the world to a kid like Jacob Eggert. He came out and relieved Kyle in the third quarter, and they let him throw. They were letting him work on things, and he moved the team. So they've got plenty of weapons still, and two more coming back. So we shall see.
Sure.
All right, is it recap time, Witt?
It sure is. Let's go ahead and break some of this down, buddy.
Minnesota State had some difficulty handling the run, as you see on the screen there, and they felt some heat from Minot State, but ultimately, Mavs prevailed at home.
Interesting game. I was watching this one. This was an early game, and I was getting a chance to kind of soak these in. And Mankato, I thought they looked fairly uninspired, frankly, in the first half, and not quite as focused as they were in the game with Northwest that I had seen a week previous. Now, this game was 13-10 Mavs in the third quarter, and that was with Minot fumbling at the goal just before half and losing a ball. So this game was right there for Minot, and then all of a sudden Mankato just really put the hammer down. And Mitch Thompson is doing, in my opinion, a little more productive of the two quarterback system they have right now. He's doing a great job rushing the ball, and Trayshawn Watson has been a handful for them in the past game. Looked like in this case here, Minot did a nice job, I thought, establishing their run game, but they kind of stalled out a bit when they needed to get some points at times. And Minot's had a tough start so far, Tom. They've had Emporia, long road trip against a good team. Then you're at Mankato for week 2. That's a pretty tough start. Jeff, what do you make out of the Mavs so far? Kind of business as usual here, or what are your thoughts?
Well, they're the Mavs, right? And they're going to be reckoned with until someone reckons with them. Obviously their depth is well known, their talent level is well known. The thing that jumped out for me here is Minot State running for 330 yards. There are teams that Mankato will play this season who, if they're able to run for 330 yards against Mankato, will do better than Minot did.
Right.
That to me, I think, is something that jumps. But of course, that's their offense, right? They only throw 6 passes a whole game, 6-7 passes, something along those lines.
Exactly.
But they can move the ball. You would think that they would be the team that would be built to knock off a Mankato because they run the ball, they run it well. And when they're running it well and moving the chains, they're keeping the ball away from Mitch Thompson. They're keeping the ball away from Trayshawn Watson. But again, Mankato is an excellent team, and they're going to find a way to win as often as not. But I think Minot showed something that other teams might be able to exploit later on in the year. I don't know about that for certain, though. I will know on Saturday when we see the Mavericks play.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, Bemidji did some nice things early, then didn't score for nearly 3 quarters. The Beavers dropped their second straight road game to open the season, 21-17 at Winona State.
Weird stat here. Bemidji has scored 17 points in each of their first 2 games in the first half, and not scored at all in the second half. Lost both. This is, they outgained Winona here. Connor Carver, dual threat quarterback they had, was what I would consider to be productive on both sides here. And we'll go ahead and throw on a little bit of the video here. We got video for the 2 games that were the close ones. Had a lot of them that weren't close this week, if we're going to be honest. Speaking of Connor Carver, quarterback, big fella. He is not afraid to play a little bit of bumper cars, and they're going to run him that way. Speaking of poles that are getting on the way. And, as we take a look, Bemidji gets up early in this contest. And, it's one of those things where I thought Bemidji would really rebound strongly in this game. They got off to a good start. There's Connor Carver to Michael Sherman right there. Bemidji goes up 7-0 early. And I'm thinking, okay, this is the team I was expecting to see today. And then they get the ball back, march on down, and Jaden Washington, their running back, scores from a yard out, and they're up 14-0. And this was a little bit more of, kind of the recipe I was thinking. And then right before half, the game kind of turned. We've got Flottmeyer rolls on out here, throws to Sigma for the touchdown. Trust me, that happened.
Yeah,
And
he threw it to somebody. Yeah.
yes. And here we go with Josh Burry almost gets in for a score. They get in a play later. And all of a sudden, we got a 17-14 game as we move on into the fourth. And Anthony Powell emerges, 32-yard score here. And all of a sudden, we got an upset on our hands. I was in shock, to be honest with you. Last gasp here, Carver goes back to pass, loses the football, and Winona secures the victory. And Brian Curtin gets his first win as head coach of Winona State. After seeing all that, Jeff, instant reaction. What are your thoughts, buddy?
Well, I think first off, congratulations to Butch Curtin for that victory. And speaking with Kurt Weezy about him last week before the game, he says this is going to be a matter of time. He's paid his dues, and congratulations to him for getting a first win in a difficult conference. I liked Anthony Powell when he played against UMD, and Jackson Flottmeyer had a quantum leap in his performance compared to what he did against the Bulldogs. Winona State, I think, has the bones of a pretty good team. And of course, Bemidji State is finding out what it's like to have a quarterback with more than 3 letters in his last name. And that is, it's going to take some time, right? They're a fine team, but so far they have yet to put it together. And I thought Winona was a better team than they showed when they played UMD. And so this win is a great one for them, certainly, but good for Anthony Powell, good for Jackson Flottmeyer. They showed the progression from week 1 to week 2 that I'm pretty sure that the coaches wanted them to show. And
for the uninitiated there, Jeff was alluding to the guy who played 6, 7, 8 years in Bemidji, Brandon ALT.
Yes.
All
Great
right.
reference. Good job.
All right. Playing the defending league champs was how Jamestown opened its first ever NSIC campaign. And it didn't end well for the Jimmies. They came to Sioux Falls, but they scored. Many didn't think they would.
Yeah, not a lot to see here, if we're going to be real honest. 30-7 or 30-0 at half. I'm sorry. And Jamestown 5 of 16 on the money downs, third and fourth. Hard to have success that way. They're going to have some challenges, as we've talked about, from a size perspective, maybe even some speed. And that's a part of the transition on over from the NAI on over to Division II. I didn't have a whole lot else to unpack here other than Jackson Haynes, who I don't recall him suiting up for Augustana in their opener that I was at. He emerged 8 catches, 93 yards, 2 scores, and the Vikings ran the ball quite a bit better than they did in their opener against Missouri Western. Jeff, do you take much from this?
I think Gunnar Hensley has against a team that's just making it start. And you're right. Augustana's rush attack is when it gets going is I didn't see this obviously, but I get the impression maybe that Augustana was playing a fairly basic game in this, but just doing the types of things that they need to do in order to take care of their business, which is what good teams do.
Yep.
We briefly mentioned this game in the Jack Strand Player of the Week segment. What struck me, Witt and Jeff, about this one-sided win for the Dragons in Marshall was the fact that Moorhead actually ran the ball with some success, while the Mustangs were effectively corralled.
Yeah, I made a deliberate effort there, Tom, to show you that they were over 100 yards rushing because, let's be honest, that's not a real common theme with them. But the fact that they had 557 yards of offense, I flipped this game on for a short time in the first half. And frankly, Strand was having no trouble finding the open man. And Parker Knutson did pick him off twice for SMSU, who's kind of a defensive standout for them. But moving past that, Moorhead holding another team to -2 yards rushing after getting gouged a week ago against Northern Michigan, I thought was a real nice recovery by them. Tom, I had mentioned a week ago that I thought SMSU would be able to have some success in the run game and try and go right at them that way. Let's just say that didn't quite happen. But
no, you got a little egg on your face.
A little bit. Jeff, what are your thoughts? Do you think Jack Strand, Jeff, has a chance to maybe compete for the Harlan Hill Award?
Yes, I do. In that offense, if they look at him fairly and look at him with open eyes, I think he absolutely has a chance. I know what Jack Strand did to UMD last time they played, and it's
right.
He's a fine quarterback, and that offense is perfect for him, in my opinion. And you're right, them running the ball, it just takes some of the pressure off the downfield game. I'm more concerned about Southwest, frankly. I mean, after the season that they had last year, to come out, at home and get squashed like that does not bode well for anybody. And that's the thing for me anyway. Is where is Southwest going to find improvement?
Yep. All right, this one. Oh, very exciting game. It was 28-all early stages, fourth quarter. Sioux Falls then went on a 9-minute scoring possession, added an insurance tally when they turned Northern State over and got the ball back on a short field. The Cougars had a 100-yard rusher, a 100-yard receiver. Northern impressed me with 3 quick strikes in the second half that tallied 21 points in a total game playing scenario of 37 seconds, those 3 plays. One was a kickoff return, one was a long pass, one was a long run. The other thing that really impressed me was lower left-hand corner there of the screen. Number 54 was everywhere. He was like savoir-faire. 21 tackles for Jake Adams. Wow.
Yeah, let's go ahead and throw on some of the video. This one was let's just say we couldn't fit all the highlights into a 90-second video package here, but we start on off here already 7-0 Cougars, and you go ahead and you see the way that Daniel Britt can escape the rush and move fairly well in the pocket. He hit Zach Kraft for a score right there, and once again we've got him moving around in the pocket here, Britt does, but he gets sacked here by Mo Dewara, and the Cougars get the football at that point. This was a low-scoring first half. It was 7-7 all the way until late in the half, and then we get Cam Dean, who hits Hank Brown down the field. They score a play or two later, end up being up 14-7 at half, and then they go ahead and they kick it on off to Cooper Eisenbeis, and just when USF had the momentum, they don't have the momentum any longer. And this is one of those plays that Tom was talking about, where Northern just got out and had gone, and there's the gal on the cell phone telling somebody about it, and then in the distance there. But we've got Daniel Britt goes back to pass after hitting one just before that to his tight end. They catch USF kind of sitting back a little bit, and he goes and rumbles. And this is a wild game, 28-all with 14 minutes left. Now we're going to get into a little bit of the Witt video here that I captured late in the game. And Bubba Tan goes ahead and scores here with about 5 minutes left to put USF up a touchdown. USF gets an interception shortly thereafter. And then on a third down play, they go ahead and score here. Cam Dean does. And that seals it away. The Cougars end up winning 42-38 in a wild one. So, Jeff, you getting a chance to see a little bit of that. Probably didn't have any idea that's how we got to 42-38 in this one. But needless to say, plenty of stuff to kind of sink into there. Cougars had 80 plays, Jeff. Northern with 50, because Northern scored on their first play or second play of the drive 2 separate times, and then a kick return.
The time of possession, Jeff, was almost 3-1, 45 to almost, 15 minutes, a little more.
Wow.
Yeah.
Two teams that we look at in Duluth, maybe a little bit different than everybody else. USF, we've had some real long bus rides home from Sioux Falls after playing the Cougars. And, there's always a lot to be excited about down there. And it looks as though, especially Cam Dean, appears to be on his A game, which is bad news for everybody else. But Northern State's one of these teams that intrigues me. They're always seem to be right on the cusp of something really cool. And, that kind of explosiveness in the special teams game and on the offensive game, I guess it doesn't surprise me. That's the kind of thing that Northern is known for doing, is for throwing the ball and airing things out. But at the same time, two teams that I think might be, and Tom, you saw it, but might be a little bit more evenly matched perhaps on another day. I mean, the Sioux Falls wins the time of possession battle, and it's 28-28 in the fourth quarter. I just think that's a game that, at least to my eyes, looks like it's a battle between a good team and a team that's going to be a good team pretty soon.
Yep, no doubt about that. I think Northern's going to make some people pay before the season's over.
Tom, one other quick observation I had was I thought Mike Schmidt made an interesting adjustment in the first half of that contest. Cam Dean was having success in the first drive, getting yards with his feet, getting 8, getting 10. And all of a sudden, Mike decided that they were going to kind of keep him in the pocket. And then he got sacked a few times, got hammered a few times on some interesting blitzes. And USF had to pivot and move away from the Cam Dean run game. And Bubba Tan stepped up, went for over 100 yards. And then Cam Dean was 20 of 26 throwing for 228. The fact that the Cougars scored 28 after the half without Cam Dean's feet being a big part of it, I thought was a big step forward for that offense.
Yeah, Sioux Falls rushed it 54 times, spreading it between Tan, Dean, Christian Nash, Jordan Smith. 54 rushing attempts. Northern State had 50 total snaps.
Yeah, wild.
You get 45 minutes of possession, right?
Yep.
Move the chains and run the ball.
This one here, Wayne State got on the winning track. Big home win over Mary. I predicted this one. Witt predicted this one. I don't think anybody thought Mary was going to go down there and get a victory, but Wayne State rolled up 42 on the Marauders.
I was pleased to see Alex Kowalczyk, who has gone through a series of injuries over the last few years, was one of the better defensive players in this league 2-3 years ago, but has had to overcome injury. He had 7 tackles, 2.5 TFLs, a sack, and a pick. Heck of a ball game for him. Great to see him back and doing real well. One thing I did notice, Tom, about this Wayne State team is I think that they feel like they need to make a more of a deliberate attempt to be good at running the football. Dawson Foggy went 27 carries for 172 and 2 scores. With a young quarterback, with Dan Brink there, who had 3 picks a week ago, threw 24 times this week, but it was 11 of 24. I think that they're going to really want to be able to run that football and play good defense in the Northern Sun. And I think that's going to be a little bit of their formula going forward. Jeff, when you take a look at this outcome, Mary won a week ago. They beat Midland. Would you expect a little bit more from them in this contest than what we got? Or do you think Wayne State's just kind of reasserting themselves a bit?
I think maybe it's a little bit of both, but I don't. When I think about Mary, I wouldn't necessarily use the word expect. I would use the word. I would hope for a little bit more from them, because they're
Sure.
still in that growing phase. Coaches have expectations. I think fans and broadcasters may see it a little bit differently. I think the score was not flattering to them, certainly, but Wayne, a solid program, doing, again, kind of like USF, doing the same things that need to get done. You need to be able to run the football. You need to be able to move chains, move clocks, stay on schedule, all those sorts of things. And it looks as though they managed that game very well, and a kind of a game that I would expect to see out of Wayne at home.
Not flattering. I like that, Tom.
Speaking of not flattering,
Jeff already mentioned here that UMD scored on offense, on defense, on special teams. They had no problem, up 40-0 at the half as they rolled at Seafoam Stadium.
In this one here, I when I saw 40-0 at half, and Tom, we talked about it a week ago, and Jeff, I don't know if you've heard us say this, but when UMD is playing a team that's not in the top 3, 4, 5 in the league, they don't just beat them, they thump them. And this was no different right here. And it's kind of wild, but they take care of business when they are supposed to in resounding fashion. And you look at Kyle Waljasper, only had to throw the ball 10 times. I think he ran it once because of the fact that they were having enough success in the run game where they didn't need to put additional miles on them. At least that was my take. And then at the same time, Concordia 3 of 18 on the money downs. That's a hard to have success that way. Jeff, did you get the impression that this was one of those games once they got the rush game going that, hey, let's keep it easy on Kyle, because there's going to be plenty of those games where we're going to be expecting him to tote the rock 25 times?
Well, probably next week being one of them. You're trying to keep your quarterback upright and healthy, but the fact of the matter was they ran the opening kickoff back for a touchdown, right? And then Concordia got the ball back, went for it on 4th and 1 at its own 47-yard line, and ran a tush push that was all tush and no push. And the Bulldogs took the ball over 2 plays later. They're in the end zone through the air, and they really hadn't run the ball to that point, and then they're able to kind of melt the game in and just let it go from there. But I think the thing about UMD that the intangible for them, remember, this was a team that lost 3 games last year on the last play of the game.
Yep.
And so the motive, or the slogan, that's on the T-shirts, play every down, right? And just remember that any one play in a game is the one that could turn it. And so far, their focus has been really good. And it doesn't matter who you're playing there, because that's a mental thing that only you can control. But it does have a direct impact on output. And the focus of the team through 2 games has been excellent. And I think that's part of this, taking that to heart. If you get into that situation where you can let somebody nail you on the last play of the game, you're setting yourself up for heartbreak. And they've left no doubt, as the movie saying goes, right? So that is an intangible that I think if they get past Mankato this weekend, I think it really do them an awful lot of good in the long run.
All right. You know who the weekly sponsor of the NSIC Weekly Podcast is? It's Boss's Pizza and Chicken. Now, they also provide the press box vittles at the University of Sioux Falls home football games. Jeff, you'll be able to partake in a couple of weeks.
Loving that.
Our sideline buddy, Chad Berger, downed 13 buffalo wings from Boss's at halftime Saturday night. He still had time to hit our booth after Witt monopolized the airwaves. Did you get any of the food from Boss's Saturday at halftime, Witt?
You know what? I was holding off for a little bit later because I planned on having a dinner afterwards with my friend Tim Hoover, who keeps the clock there. So I was actually not trying to get heartburn while I was down on the sideline, if I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. But we were going to play a joke of getting video of me eating Berger's wings before he got on up there, but I didn't have the heart to do that to my guy.
Is that a Bob Youngfield record, by the way, guys? 13
No.
wings. It's not?
No.
Oh my gosh.
I think he's beaten that with ease in the past.
So Jeff, what looks better in this picture?
The
The garlic bread, the Italian sausage pizza, or the beer on the right?
You know what? I love garlic bread. Absolutely love garlic bread. So that would be it for me, I think. Just give me a couple of dips of that and I'm good to go.
If I were going to answer the question, it's yes.
All
yeah.
of the above.
Let's be fair.
Well, Tom, let's go ahead and take a look at something that is utterly shocking. You went 7-0 a week ago, which must speak to how easy the games were. But I lost the Bemidji game, and you picked Winona, and you went 7-0. Now I'm chasing you this time around this year, which I'm not real sure what to make of that, but here we are. Let's go ahead and
I'm going to act like I've been there before. No gloating.
Everyone else knows that you haven't, so
we're going to let the graphics speak for itself.
Now we're holding Jeff accountable for his picks right now, and for anyone from UMD who's watching the game, for every game he gets wrong, feel free to give him a hard time when you see him.
But first, I want to, just for fun, check how the week 0 non-conference opponents of NSIC teams fared in week 1. Quincy, which beat Concordia 38-7, lost to Roosevelt 23-21. Roosevelt,
who
that's
just
a high school around here.
Yes, thank you for being local. Yes, they joined their team in the Chicagoland area, and they joined the GLIAC a season ago from the NAIA. They are about a half step ahead of Jamestown. They were a 500 team, or maybe borderline almost playoffs in the NAIA.
All right. Michigan Tech, a 37-17 winner over Bemidji. Traveled to Rapid City, easily down South Dakota Mines 45-9.
Yep.
Northwest Missouri, a 38-14 loser at Mankato week 0. Waltzed by Washburn 34-7. Moorhead slipped by Northern Michigan 44-37 a week ago. NMU lost to Northwood 23-18. What can you tell me about Northwood?
I know Northwood upset Saginaw Valley State, who was one of the best teams in the GLIAC a year ago. So, and a team that has beaten Winona each of the last 2 seasons leading up to this.
All right. Kearney beat another Nebraska opponent a week after downing Wayne 28-21. The Lopers easily sidelined Chadron State 41-21. Midland of the NEIA rebounded after losing to Mary. Warriors defeated Hastings 24-9. Emporia State got stomped by Angelo State 41-20 a week after the Hornets stung Minot 27-7. Sioux Falls got Black Hills 27-21 week 0. The Yellow Jackets proved to be a handful for Grand Valley State, losing only 48-36.
Yeah, they were up 10-0 at the end of one quarter.
And Mo West, after suffering a last-second loss to Augustana, did not play in week 1.
So what did you make from all those results that you gathered there?
Teams went 4-4 after beating or playing NSIC teams. It's just kind of fun to take a look.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
Yeah. Wouldn't you agree, Jeff? Isn't it fun to take a look?
That's what pros do.
Thank you for tuning in to Tom reading the scores. So let's go ahead and we're going to move on into the picks for the week. And our crack staff has come up with the best graphics in the small college podcast game here. We're going to go ahead and start off with Winona State at Moorhead. After everything we've talked about, guys, this seems like this is going to be an interesting ball game. Jeff, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. I like Jack Strand at home. Having seen Winona and seen their pass defense and seen what the Bulldogs did to them, minus their top 2 receivers, I think that's the intangible for me. I like Moorhead.
Frederick, are you going to go with Winona for a second straight week?
The South leads the North 5-2 in head-to-head encounters thus far this season. But I've got to side with the Dragons in this one. I'm going North. MSU Moorhead.
Jeff, you kind of swerved us there a little bit. I'm going with Jack Strand and company as well. I haven't seen, when I watched that game, I didn't see enough from the Winona offense to think that they can kind of throw punches here all the way throughout. I think it will be a well-contested game, but I do have Moorhead winning that. Ooh. When I pull up this one, this is what came to mind. Probably be hearing from both teams. SMSU going to Jamestown. Jamestown hosting their first game in the conference. Guys, a lot of analysis to be done here. Tom, what do you got?
I've got the Jimmies posting their first ever NSIC dub.
You got the Jimmies, huh?
I got the Jimmies.
Jeff,
You know,
I
it's
didn't give
funny,
you I didn't give you much time to prepare for this. I asked you
No.
early afternoon, hey, can you stop by and do the pod with us? You had no idea I was going to put you in this situation.
That's okay, but I'm with Tom. I need to see it from Southwest, and we just haven't. I mean, maybe Jamestown getting its first home game in the conference, all the emotion that goes with that. I'm thinking probably enough to get them over the finish line, unless Southwest shows something they did not show last week against Moorhead.
You guys have put me in the awkward situation where I was coming into the show thinking I was going to take the Jimmies, but I now immediately feel like there's absolutely no way I can do that, because if all three of us picked them, that would be the kiss of death. So I am going to take Scott Underwood and his group to go on up and win this game on the road. Scott, I'm counting on you a little bit here. We got, I'm on the wrong side of this right now, apparently. So gonna need for you guys to come out with the win. So got 2-1 Jimmy's on that. Moving right along. Whoops, got that one again.
I still don't get that slide, what it means.
Well, we'll discuss it later off air when we have more time. Augustana gonna go make the trip to Bismarck for you, Mary. Not sure we're gonna think this one over too long, but Tom, what do you got?
I got Augustana posting the South's first win of the weekend.
Gotcha. Jeff, what do you think?
As do I, especially if they show the kind of stability that they showed in their opener. I like them.
I'll take Augie on the road here. Hugh Mary's been throwing the ball quite a bit so far this season. I think that they could give Augie some problems with a fairly inexperienced defense this time around, but I have Augie winning this. Okay, now business is picking up. Sioux Falls at Bemidji. Tom, if I'm not mistaken, Sioux Falls has not beaten Bemidji since Coach Bolte's first year taking over the program in 2016. Does that sound about right?
You're correct. This is going to be just the third visit to Bemidji for Sioux Falls since joining the league back in 2012. They've got a win and a loss there. Coach Glagowski, believe it or not, has a better road record as coach of the Cougars than he has at Bob Young Field, where they have a heck of a home field advantage. I've got Sioux Falls winning this one. South with the win, tying it up 2-2.
I'm sure everyone was shocked that you went with the Cougars on that. But Jeff, this I feel like, even though, Tom, you've already picked, Jeff, I feel like even though Bemidji's 0-2, that they're kind of like being backed into a corner here. And this is not going to be an easy game for Sioux Falls at their place. You think Bemidji kind of gets off the canvas here and notches a win? What are your thoughts?
I just think if you go back to that stat that you mentioned earlier, that Bemidji hasn't scored a point in the second half yet, fixing that, I think, is going to go a long way towards making them the kind of team that certainly they want to be. Chad Anderson is a very difficult place. The Bulldogs had a lot of success there for years, but not in recent years. And it's this one, to me, I think is on as much of a knife's edge as the Bulldogs in Mankato this weekend. Based on what I know, based on what I've seen, I like the Cougars in this game, but I like it to be a real close one, one score or less. I would imagine, and I think it comes down to quarterback play. When Bemidji figures out its quarterback situation, and they get the kind of results that they need to get to be successful, especially in the second half of games, then they're going to be just fine. But right now, I think USF is maybe playing a little bit better, and I like them on the road.
I think that's a great take there by Jeff, and I just feel like Sioux Falls just has too much on offense right now. And Bemidji's still trying to kind of figure out a little bit of what that's going to be on that side, while they've replaced so many guys on defense. I think, though, that they are always going to be a team that is going to fight tooth and nail and be very physical, and they are going to be amped up at their place. I think this is a game that Sioux Falls needs to win if they're going to try and make that kind of step into that immediate grouping with Duluth and a Mankato. I think Sioux Falls gets it done here, but I would really expect a competitive ball game. Concordia going on out to Minot. We have a battle of two squads that are both 0-2 coming on in. Tom, how do you see this one?
I see Minot going up. I see Concordia going down based on the outcomes of the first two games. Concordia's been outscored 99-14. Minot.
Jeff, I have a feeling that it's going to be hard for you to take Concordia after you just having seen them and not seeing their better side.
Right. And I think that's true. I think Minot will run the football very well against Concordia. And it's something, obviously, I know Shannon Courier's probably got that as job one, is to figure out how to stop that. He played three different quarterbacks against UMD. And really, the third string was the only one that Graff, the quarterback, was the only one that seemed to move their team. And that was really against UMD's 2s and 3s. I think Minot controls the ball on the ground, and I think they win it.
By the way, guys, we do have a comment section. I haven't really pulled up anything on the comments yet. We've got one of our folks who writes a column in one of the other conferences. Apparently, Jamestown's logo getting a little bit of shade in the comments there. We've got some other things in here that I'll review as we kind of go. But guys, as we look on this one here, I just think that Bemidji returns home, Minot returns home. I think they roll here. I think that they kind of see that their goals are still in front of them, in my opinion. They lost, to a Mankato team that a lot of teams are going to lose to, and they lost to non-con. And they can still go ahead and do their thing. So I'll take Minot here as well. More about Minot and what they're doing than what I'm seeing with Concordia. Oh, boy. Minnesota State heading on up to UMD. Maybe, up there with USF and Augustana, one of the best rivalries in this conference. Both teams are always strong. This game always has some real meaning to it. Jeff, as we take a look at this here, you help me with my memory, but I want to say Duluth won the last two of these. Do I have that right?
That is correct. Both in Duluth and in Mankato. They were both late season games. Of course, last year was the last game of the season, and it was a question as to whether the Mavericks would even make the playoffs after UMD defeated them. Of course, they did, and we know what happened after that. But there's two schools of thought for me on this game. Number one would be the UMD has won the last two here and there, and really didn't. You choose my words carefully here, but they did it with some ease in both situations. Now, last year, it is fair to note Mankato was missing 3 starting offensive linemen for that last game, and they were exploited by the Bulldog defensive front. The win in Mankato, on the other hand, was more both teams with all hands on deck, and the Bulldogs just played brilliantly that day and won. So it was a long stretch between wins for UMD to beat the Mavericks prior to that. And I know the first win in that series was, of course, especially satisfying for Kurt Weezy, having played at Mankato, to go down there and win on the road and then come back and beat them again the next year at home. Acid test for this team like no other, at least, no disrespect to anybody, especially not USF as a team which has had UMD's number over the last.
No, but I think we all understand the meaning of this game between these teams.
Right. But that said, there are some intangibles here. And I think for me, the matchup, if it comes off, that I think is going to be the biggest one on the field is Preston McQueen against Trayshawn Watson.
You stole my thunder, Jeff.
Sorry about that. But UMD's 6'3" or 6'4" sophomore cornerback, depending on who you talk to, is a guy that gives them length in the secondary that they haven't had in years. If that's the matchup that the Bulldogs, ones that the Mavericks try to play out of, I think it's going to be key. But it's military night up there, which is always a huge crowd, a loud crowd. There's an awful lot going on up there. The home field advantage, I think, is going to be big, although Mankato always travels well. I'm going to be true to my school. Got to go with UMD, but very close, less than a score, less than a touchdown.
I think right up there with Grand Valley makes a trip on out to Pitt this weekend. And I think up there with that, this game is right up there for the biggest games in Division II nationally this week. Tom, you've had plenty of time to think about which way you're going to go on this one, buddy.
He made an old school reference there, "Be True to My School." It's sort of like an old Beach Boys song. This is like a heavyweight title fight to me. And I don't want to say between who, because you're going to say, God, that was 50 years ago. Ali Frazier, maybe before that, Liston Patterson. I went back and looked. What's that?
Dempsey Tunney.
Where are you going?
Jeff getting in on it.
That's good. I like that. I went back and looked at, Witt wanted me to come up who's going to win the league. So I handicapped every game. So I went back and looked at that sheet today. That sheet says UMD. And I'm going to stick with the Bulldogs at home.
Well, guys, we have two UMDs so far. We do have the chat has really picked up with this game coming on the display. We have our guy Laker here. Jeff, you know who Laker is.
I do.
He's a legend in these Northern Sun parts.
Sure is.
He wants to know any reason for the 4 p.m. start instead of a 1 or a 6.
I know most coaches that I have talked to in this league really don't like the 6 p.m. starts, especially in the cross divisional games, because the return time. I think if I had to guess, I can't speak for it authoritatively, but my guess is it would be for the return trip. As you have a chance to play. If they want it to be later on in the afternoon, that's fine. But at the same time, I don't think anybody likes the idea of evening games. When for example, when UMD goes to Wayne, that's a guaranteed thing to get home at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, right? Mankato is nowhere different. I mean, it's obviously a lot different than that, but I would think that they would still want to have reasonable travel on this, especially if they're traveling day of, as UMD did for the first 2 weeks. They went down to TCO, got off the bus and played. They did it again last week at Concordia. I think it's about travel, but that's just pure speculation.
Well, we've got some folks in the comments who James W. says Duluth and a nail biter. I got Lenny. He thinks that we got Minnesota State. Real back and forth here. Dan is on radio and just west of Minneapolis, and he mentions here Watson and Guyette are the best receiver duo in the conference. Easy for me to say, and he may have a point there. I haven't really given it a ton of consideration, but that's a pretty good little combo there. Now, Guyette doesn't get the headlines that Trayshawn does, and when I look at this game here, I just feel like the Mavs have been more tested in terms of who they are playing, and they've gotten some deep waters a little bit in games where UMD has not really run across that a whole lot yet in this young season. Now, I do think that UMD has kind of had the formula on how to really slow down that Maverick offense. The last handful of times that they've played, it seems like it's been like that. However, I just feel like this is the game where, this is the Mavs having a get-back game. I last night on our Sunday evening show Inside D2 Football, I took the Mavs.
Ooh.
I've gone back and forth today thinking about this, but I am going to go ahead and stick with the Mavericks in this one in what I think is going to be a fantastic ball game. Now, Tom, I did not get a chance to tell you before the show because I love to go ahead and hit you with moments like this. But due to ongoing popular request, we have brought back.
We forgot a game.
We have forgotten a game? Did I miss one?
Wayne State Northern.
Did I miss it on the slide? Oh, you know what? I was so anxious, Tom. Guys, no disrespect, Wayne or Northern. You have no idea, guys, how I've been waiting to cook this into the show all day, and I did a great job of ruining that. But so let's go ahead and pop on into Wayne State, Northern. Tom, you just got done seeing Northern. What do you got here?
I firmly believe Northern State gets its first win, and believe it or not, that means I've got 5 North winners this week, which is unheard of as far as I'm concerned.
Especially the way that you normally give the North a hard time. So
Yeah.
I would agree with you.
Yeah.
Jeff, tough one to pick here. What do you got?
It's a tough one to pick. 2 good programs, no, 2 solid programs now. But I'm with Tom. I think home field is going to help Northern in this one, and I like them to win on a close game.
I think the way Mike Schmidt was able to go ahead and put pressures on Cam Dean and force USF out of some of what they wanted to do offensively. I'm not sure if Wayne State, with a younger quarterback and a lot of changes on offense, are quite ready for all that. And I have a feeling that Northern is just a tad ahead of them right now. So I'm going to take Northern as well, guys.
That means, Witt, you and I differ on 2. We'll see what the compiled standings look like next week.
And back to fun. So, Jeff, I don't know if we had you a part of this before, but this is normally where we get a chance to ridicule. I mean, I enjoy our time with Tom with this. Now, Tom, I'm going to ask you the first question. We're going to have a total of 3 questions. Hands on buzzers. No, Tom, you're going to get a chance. You go first. Then, Jeff, I'm going to ask for your guess right on the heels of that.
Oh, boy. Okay.
We don't expect you to have all the right answers, which is half the fun of it, because then I get to give you a hard time. So, gentlemen, what quarterback in the Northern Sun is leading the league in total yards? And get a chance to think about it, so we get a chance to play this music. Now, Jeff, don't be switching your screens. I saw your screen changing. Jeff trying to immediately beat Tom in the competition. I like the spirit. Hey, Tom, while I'm still young, let's go.
Gunnar Hensley.
Jeff, I'm going to give you your chance. He's got Gunnar Hensley.
Oh,
You think Gunnar Hensley's the right answer, or would you like to take somebody else?
I'll take Jack Strand.
it's a tie.
In total yards, it is Gunnar Hensley. Tom actually got the question correct, despite not understanding that I wasn't looking only for passing yards.
Right. Passing
That is
yards,
such a Tom thing to have happen for you to. It's like falling down a manhole backwards into the arms of Brooke Shields there. But anyway,
talk about a dated reference, Brooke Shields.
yes,
Maybe when
I
you
know.
were a kid.
Well, she was kind of a big deal back in the day. Let's not move away from that. But so then as we go ahead, we've got two more questions. Jeff, you are going to get a chance to go first.
I'm sorry to hear
this
that.
Jeff, who leads the Northern Sun in receiving yards?
Oh, boy. You know, I knew that as of last week. Let's go.
Jeff's screen keeps changing, but
Going to the stats page.
Jeff, we can see the reflection in your glasses.
Yep.
But I like the Chad Courier like thinking of let's look it up. So who did you think, Jeff?
Trayshawn Watson.
Tom, who do you have?
Trayshawn Watson.
It is Trayshawn Watson. I was hoping that by giving what appeared to be an obvious question that you guys would try and overthink it, but apparently we didn't go there. Toughest question, in my opinion. Who is the leading rusher in the Northern Sun? Tom, what do you got?
Connor Carver.
Yep.
Quarterback of Bemidji State, Connor Carver. Jeff, do you agree, or are you going to go with a different answer?
I agree.
Since apparently you twos have looked it up, because you wouldn't have ever gotten it otherwise.
Hey, no
Is
flash
Connor
on my
Carver?
glasses.
I don't believe either of you. 219 yards rushing, 2 scores. How about who's the top rushing running back, guys?
Bubba Tan.
No. I mean, Jeff, your turn.
Oh, geez.
Oh, wait,
I was
Jeff.
gonna-
Hold on, Jeff. Hold your thought for a moment. I haven't had a chance to do this with Tom yet. Okay. You have no idea how much that gives me enjoyment, Jeff. I've been waiting for.
That's all right. Well, you can do it for me too, because I was going to guess Bubba 10. So you can go ahead and thank you very much.
Devin Daniels, Minot State. He's he's the back he's the wing back who takes the sweeps for them. It's not Evan Lovett, their top rusher. It's that guy, and he is the top running back right now in the Northern Sun. Tom, we would have been here for a while, wouldn't we?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, that was fun. So, Jeff, really appreciate you joining us on the show. Tom, any last second thoughts for our buddy?
No, Jeff, looking forward to seeing you next week. Hopefully you'll have a smile on your face. That means both you and I got the picks right this week.
All right, partner. Good to see you guys. And just thanks for having me. I appreciate the time.
Thanks very much for tuning on in. Have a great night.